fun. They use real guns. If you think about Genua, or if you think on DEFCON, there is they take it very seriously what's going on, and so we have to think about how to improve our security with existing systems. And first of all, I think additional hardware is cool. It's a good idea to store your secret keys on a Java card or iButton or IP device or something, because it can contain a lot of more entropy than you can remember as a passphrase in most protocols. I think best is to have both something you have in mind and something you can carry with you. But three properties of crypto hacking is trust nobody. You should ask for open source, or at least look on the source code. We should combine different building blocks in a way that the construction is as secure as the strongest block. As you know, that most protocols are only as strong or weak as the weakest chain in the protocol, but there are well-known strategies to combine building blocks in a way that you have at least the security of the strongest block. And as I told, additional hardware, that means you have hardware which you have some kind of control of what's going on the hardware, and then additional hardware tools. Of course, if you have only a proprietary hardware and you trust, then you have to trust the system. You have to trust that no secret channels are there, and so I will really take attention to the additional hardware can improve the security of this construction. Three golden rules. Every crypto hack, every small problem we should store on the Java code shall provable not provide less security. And as I mentioned, there are some mathematical tricks which can ensure that we have not less security than before. One nice thing is construction where we can trust one of many. When we have security, if the hardware is okay, or if our passphrase is okay, or if something else secures us. If that construction are pretty cool, where you can say, okay, I take one crypto hardware from a French vendor, one from an American vendor, and one from an Israeli vendor, then I think only the security agencies of the three called country will take access to your keys, and if you combine it, then there has been a worldwide conspiracy to get the information. And so I think this is a good construction to get a better real security. And of course, this should be, crypto hack should only performed by somebody who knows what he does. For instance, the designer of the wireless equivalent privacy protocol, the IEEE, does not know, they don't know what they are doing. It's totally busted, but we have in the crypto community a lot of friendly people, for instance, okay, Goldberg or somebody else, which you can ask if you have a big protocol or a big construction, but don't ask if you haven't read Bruce Schneier book and some other books, because then also nice people get a bit unrelated if too many questions can. Okay, let's come to JavaCard. JavaCard is an open standard. This is nice. Then we have many vendors, so we can choose whom we trust or who we don't trust at all. For instance, there are French, German, and American vendors. And as I mentioned, there is a possibility to store a small hacks on the card, and some of these hacks are only 3 lines of code. It's something sometimes like this cool cryptocurrencies you can find for exporting some algorithms in 3 lines of a signature. So, for instance, example for the how to make a random generation more secure is just take more sources of random and hash it, because a hash function is something like a one-way function, and so it always helps you to cache in a scenario of random generation. So just use more hash. You can perform one hash function, about 20,000 hash functions in a second. So it's always a good idea to use them. Okay, also it might be a good idea to mix sometimes the identity information and then hash once more, because then you have additional entropy sources. Then second example is if you design protocol, there is some strategy to make good hash. You can take a well-tested hash function like char or RipeMD, and you can generate a new hash function by concatenating 0 byte bundles. This is used in Open PGP. And if you take a closer look on the hash function, you see that you get a new hash function, but with really similar properties. And so in some protocol design, it's a good idea to use a different hash function, which are constructed by well-known hash functions. For instance, also if you have to generate more random bits, usually you have maybe 128 random bits, and then you have to generate a 265-bit key, then it's a good idea to do it similar, like proposed in the OpenPGP RFC 2 for all things. Okay, one funny thing is that Java cards can be used to make keys longer. It's really crazy, but a long time it was much easier to export Java card which only supports DS and does not support triple DS. And if you have a Java card, you can just do dash dash dash. Make 3 lines of code, and you end up with triple S. And so this export restriction is pretty ridiculous. There's another construction which is interesting for the academic, but also from practical standpoint. If you need a 128 bit block cipher, what is appropriate in some challenge and response protocols for it, you can use a deal, which is a submission from last Knudsen to the RS conference. It's just used 652 rounds with this as run function. So it uses something what's pretty good understood in the research community. It has 128-bit block size, and together with Stefan Lux made a small improvement. We found a small mistake in the key schedule. And this paper is published. This first paper is published on the RIS conference, ISS submission, and the second paper is published on the TARDIS conference 2000 in Bristol. And both construction, also the weaker Knudsen construction, seems to be a better security margin than normal triple S. And please turn off the mobile phone. Thanks. This deal is can be realized by 9 lines of code. It's just dash XOR, dash XOR, dash XOR. Maybe some more lines because we have to deal with 64 bits. But it's really, you can really store it in less than 1 kilobyte. Another strategy I want to really present as a hack is wittening. If you take a look at the Shire book, it's pretty nice explained there, but it's not used in practice. It's pretty interesting. I want to take you to look here.
You have the normal DES, which is performed in hardware, and you take 64-bit more key information, XOR it before encryption and XOR it after encryption. And you have this provable, more secure construction than single DES. Also, I think the most 3 letters agencies will be screwed up. So you have a DES card, only a single DES card, and you just write a small piece of Java code which gives 64 bits XOR before encryption and after encryption. And it's pretty interesting that it's enough to use the same key for pre-wittening for the first XOR and for the second XOR. That in some scenarios you have not enough key bits to use 2 different wittening keys, 2 64-bit wittening keys, but it's really enough to improve the security of most protocols to add just 2 XORs, and this is pretty easy to perform with Java cards. By the way, of course, this is also pretty easy to perform if you have a smart card on your computer, and you can go on the computer side, the first XOR, and then send this stuff to the smart card, gets the result into a second XOR, and then everybody with bad behavior has a problem. And you can find it in the standard applied cryptography by Buchner, and I don't know why it's not used more often in practice. So another nice feature is that we can store many applications on one card, and as I told you, our crypto hacks are pretty small, and so you can do a lot of stuff on one card. For instance, you can do a PGP hack which supports which performs the secret operation on the smart card. There are many SMIME solutions. There are 2 interesting solutions by Sydney, the group of Peter Hardiman and Jim Rees. One is an SSH client where you have your secret key on the smart card, and the second is a Kerberos client. We also have worked in the area of file encryption and in the area of, together with Bastian Becker and Stefan Lutz, in the area of free SWAN. And we are working on a cryptographic file support. And as I mentioned, if our crypto hacks only take 1 kilobyte, we can store 5 or 6 applications on one card. That means you have one card for your SSH key and one for your PGP, and the same card for your PGP key. And this is I think a good idea not to have too many cards in your pocket. So, some remarks about my favorite THC protocol. It's a pretty lightweight protocol. In principle, I translate the slides to English later. It's a channel response protocol with an initial vector recycling trick. It is presented on some conferences, for instance, some meters away last year on the IDMS 2000 or 2001 in Amsterdam. It's a simple challenge and response protocol with a smart trick, but we can demonstrate how this strategy, trust nobody or trust one of 20, can be used. In the area of P2P, take a passphrase, hash the passphrase, then hash the passphrase with the card, get response. Okay, now calculate the second key using the passphrase, not the hash value, and the response. For instance, hash o/response passphrase. That means also if you have a very evil smart card which stores all your challenges and response on the card, attacker which takes over the smart card cannot recover the final session key you use in the protocol, because you have generated the session key using this passphrase, which has been only a hash sent into the card and the response. So Information you have only on your computer, information you have only on your card, and a hash over it. Then that means that you have the best security of the moment I can construct. So property session key depends on those. And also if the card stores everything, the card cannot recover the session keys used. Then there's a small hack, also a brief one, and it's really a small hack. It's just moves away the authentication with a shared secret to the Java card, and this protocol is done by HMAC over the public parameters which are used in the key construction process. And it's GPL, and you can integrate it in FreeSwarm. And as I told you, it's just make it only some lines of code. Some words to GNU Privacy Guard. I think it's really important. Take a look at the new version. There you have really huge amount of problems. You have this silly ADK for RSA keys, so they poison our good old RSA keys. It's not compatible with OpenPGP. There are a lot of security problems by default, for instance, caching pathways, sharing secret information, and what makes me more complex, and I haven't seen the source code, and this slide is not much modified since half a year, and we still don't have the source code for PGP 7 or something. What's really cool is the strong real construction set called SDA. You can send also encrypted information to stupid people, and you just use PGP, type in the passwords, and you send it by mail, and the user clicks on X and types in the passwords, and all your window belongs to us. It's really ridiculous. A security company offers a solution which forces normal stupid user which cannot install PGP to click on an Excel file. And looking on my own dark side, I say it's fantastic. You have no patterns at all for a voice scanner because it's not random around it. And yes, I think I will play with it a bit and will present some new results on selected topics or hacking in September or on the CCC. So it really is a wrong show, and the support for the additional encryption here, I think it's well known, a good idea for the way they do it. And the fantastic bug was everybody can add additional encryption key on public keys. So if I'm interested in any information,
I think you can
send to somebody, I can just take his public key from the server and say, oh, if you send this mail to this person, please send also a copy to me. And this has been fixed, but it has been in many versions of PGP till somebody has found it. Okay, coming to the good things. For this reason, I think the GNU Privacy Guard project is not any longer a nice project which supports GPL. I think it's a really important construction to get back control about PGP and our web of trust. And to support this, we have constructed a small hack which supports the storage of the secret key on a smart card. To make it clear, it's just a secure place for your private key. It's not, from an academic standpoint, a sophisticated protocol. And yes, it's a dirty hack.
But I think it's improved the real-life security a lot. I think secure handling is the biggest problem. We have millions of existing PGP keys outside, and so we should support this web of trust. They are not so wide as the people which have joined heavily here, but we should support them. Really, it's the biggest web of trust, the biggest public key infrastructure which ever has existed, and so we should support it in the future. Also, there are patent programs with RSR, not anymore, but with IDEA. But I think there is really necessity to support it. Okay, when we have had this this movement of the secret keys to on secret we have presented, and so security model. If you have a connected host, you have Trojan, swap files, sorted disk files, and yeah, the key is not secure if you have it on a computer which is connected to the net. And smart cards, the situation is much better. Yes, of course, there are also sophisticated attacks against smart cards, but it's much easier to open a system which is connected to the net than open a smart card. And for especially you have to have physical access to the smart card in those scenarios. So another reason it's important for juridical stuff, legal stuff, must signature, as I said, in Germany. And it's another point is that this is one of the few advantages ESMA application have at the moment that they support. I have to hurry, sorry. Okay, key generation on the host versus key generation on the card. I will stop this discussion because we can do all. We have the possibility to provide small hacks for both, and we have the chance to open source both sides, not only the host side, also the key generation of the card. That means we can provide a small Java hack which will take a horrible amount of time, but it's open source and improves our warm and fuzzy feeling regarding the hardware. So we add a small, we take the random source on the card and add a small, boring, slow Java program which works overnight, but does some cryptographic voodoo we enjoy. And since key generation is not so often performed, I think it's a good idea, and we working on this topic as long as we have some venture capital to burn, maybe longer. Yes, Minister. Okay. Okay, I have only some slides there. Our hack is really dirty. It uses a fake key ring which is stored on the computer hard disk, and moves only the secret mathematical parameter to the card. And so the secret key file is still on the hard disk, but with 00000 or 232323 as secret parameters. And the real secret parameters are on the card, and the card performs this simple operation or whatever. Everything is GPL, download it and make silly remarks about it. So coming to the last slide, this talk is produced with open source, some problems with the Beamer. Yeah, thank you to everybody who develops open source software, and I think we can continue with it. Okay, thank you very much.
I have a question. I hear you talk about triple DES and deal, but is IDEA still secure?
Sorry, is IDEA?
Is IDEA or Blowfish still secure?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
My personal opinion is that
Blowfish is so very constructed and takes such a horrible amount for the first initial key generation that it has to be secure. And IDEA, there is a fantastic result by Adi Kami, it's a really fantastic result. And if you have all the possible plain text and ciphertext 1 to the power of 128, you have destroyed some useless galaxies and stuff like this to find some place for storage. But even in this scenario, you can only get to 3.5 rounds. And so IDEA looks pretty good. On the other hand, it's patented, and we have a lot of nice ciphers which are not patented. And in the future, we should use IIS with 14 rounds.
You said that using Java files on open source environment, but is there any Java OS open source on Java files yet in the market?
I don't think so. So the whole argument for open source are two arguments. You can choose many vendors because it's an open standard. You have not the sources of the requirement. I think maybe there will be projects, maybe there are some projects in the academic area to do it. But as I mentioned, this is not the strongest part. The strongest part in this scenario is really that you can choose vendors from all over the world, one. And second, you can do city cryptographic hacks additional to it. But you're right, it would be much nicer if we have open source part, really open